All that shortly, but first, Catalonia. Just weeks ahead of the regional elections, polls indicate that pro-independence parties might fail to retain an absolute majority in the parliament. The polls show pro-independence parties winning 67 seats, one short of the absolute majority they would require to retain control of the regional parliament. Catalan separatist leaders are predicted to win 46% of the votes, which is almost 1% down from the 2015 elections. Meanwhile, Catalonia's former leader Carles Puigdemont has kicked off his campaign from Belgium. Puigdemont said, and I'm quoting, "We Catalans demonstrated to the world that we have the capacity and the will to become an independent state. And on December 21st, we must ratify this," unquote. The Catalan region is holding parliamentary elections on December 21st after Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy last month dissolved the Catalonia parliament and fired Puigdemont for his role in the independence referendum, following which Puigdemont fled to Belgium and now faces charges of rebellion and sedition. Our senior foreign editor Padma Rao has been tracking the very latest, is now joining us in the broadcast from the newsroom. What do these polls figures really indicate to you, Padma?
Well, Carles Puigdemont is, I think he might be deluding himself because he seems to forget that the last time his party won the elections winning, in fact, 72 seats in the 135-seat regional parliament, that was with the support of other separatist-minded parties. But now what has happened, Molly, is that the ERC, that is the party of his former vice president, Oriol Junqueras, he remained in Spain while Puigdemont fled to Belgium. He was, in custody and then released and all that happened. So that is the party that has said that it is not going to contest the forthcoming election as a united separatist front along with that of Mr. Carles Puigdemont. Opinion polls ahead of the December 21st poll are predicting a neck-to-neck race between the ERC, that's also a separatist party for sure, but also, pro-Spain parties. They say that it's going to be a very close call because, Molly, we must remember that even when the referendum was held, 41.5% of voting Catalans did not participate, did not cast their vote, or rather their, sort of participate in the referendum. So we don't know what this 41.5%, did they stay away because they were definitely pro-Spain, or did they stay away because they just didn't see any point of a referendum, knowing what lies ahead and that it might be unconstitutional, which it did turn out to be. So that will play a big role. And one thing that Mr. Puigdemont cannot forget, or two things rather, is that there is a ground, there is a sizable number of, Catalans who are all for remaining with Spain. That's the one aspect. And the other thing is that much of his own support for his own party, the PDCAT, may have dwindled in the interim over the past few weeks simply because of his own erratic behavior. Many people in Catalonia who were supporters of Mr. Puigdemont were extremely disappointed. The fact that, he held the referendum, declared independence, and then when the going got heavy, he simply ran away. So that is certainly has not contributed to his popularity.
I was just coming to that, the rather erratic behavior and the back and forth that Carles Puigdemont has been resorting to, Padma, ever since the referendum results were declared. He has kept the entire region on tenterhooks. He's been, mincing his words ever since the referendum results were out. So that, in a way, seems to have also impacted the popularity of the leader, which is going to be substantial in the December 21st elections.
Yes, most certainly, because, there were so many people, so many dozens of people were injured during those riots and those demonstrations. And there were thousands of people who sat out on the streets of Barcelona and all over Catalonia in support of Mr. Puigdemont. Now, when some members of his cabinet, actually gave themselves up and allowed themselves to be taken into custody, in other words, bore the brunt of their actions, many people people didn't see any reason why the leader who was considered the tallest up to that point in time simply chose, and this was in a very cloak and dagger fashion as well. You know, he took a car and drove up to France and changed cars in the middle of the night. I mean, the whole thing sounds very dramatic from reports. And then to be in Belgium and to still insist that the European Union recognize Catalonia as an independent country, people are beginning to say that Mr. Puigdemont might be seriously delusional.
All right, we're going to leave it there for the moment, Padma. Appreciate you joining us with all of those perspectives. Padma Rao getting us the latest on the Catalonia elections. But moving on for now, thousands stormed the streets of Romanian capital Bucharest on Sunday, protesting against the ruling Social Democrats' plan to overhaul the judiciary. Chanting slogans, and I quote, "We don't want to be a nation of thieves," and carrying signs that read, "Together for Justice." Protesters marched to the Romanian parliament. Similar protests were held in other major cities, including Brasov and Sibiu. Protesters say that such changes would allow high-level corruption to go unpunished. Sunday's protest was the biggest since the massive anti-corruption protests at the beginning of the year. The proposed judicial overhaul has also been widely criticized by the European Commission and foreign diplomats.